Have you ever wondered why some women never have to beg for attention? Why they never have to send that second text, chase after a man, or convince someone to stay? It isn't because they're the most beautiful. It isn't because they're the richest. And it definitely isn't because they're lucky. It's because they understand one boundary that changes everything. One invisible line that tells the world, this is where my self-respect begins. The moment a woman learns this boundary, everything changes. The energy shifts. The chasing stops because now he's the one doing it. Most people think men chase beauty. They think men chase perfection. But that's not what keeps a man's attention. Attraction might open the door, but respect is what keeps him knocking. A man will admire beauty for a moment. He will remember confidence for a lifetime. And confidence is born from one thing: knowing what you will never tolerate. The biggest mistake many women make is believing that love requires sacrifice of self. They answer every message instantly. They rearrange their schedules. They forgive disrespect because they're afraid of losing someone. They become so focused on keeping the relationship alive that they slowly lose themselves. And here's the painful truth: the more you abandon yourself, the less valuable you appear to someone else. People don't chase what they know they can always have without effort. Human nature has always valued what carries standards. Think about it. Diamonds are valuable because they're rare. Gold is precious because it isn't everywhere. The same principle applies to your presence. If your attention is always available, if your time is always free, if your standards disappear the moment someone shows interest, then your value becomes invisible. The boundary we're talking about today isn't about playing games. It's not about pretending not to care. It's not about manipulating someone into liking you. It's about protecting your peace so fiercely that anyone who wants access to your life must bring respect with them. The moment you decide that disrespect has no seat at your table, everything begins to change. Many women confuse patience with tolerance. They tell themselves, maybe he'll change. Maybe he's just busy. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Little by little, excuses replace standards. Days become months. Months become years. Suddenly they're investing everything into someone who never invested the same energy back. Here's something powerful to remember. Every time you ignore your own boundary, you teach people how to treat you. If you answer every late night text after being ignored all day, you're teaching someone that your attention has no conditions. If you accept broken promises over and over again, you're teaching someone that their words don't need action. If you continue giving love without receiving respect, you're teaching someone that they can keep taking without ever giving. People learn from what you allow. Strong boundaries aren't walls to keep love out. They're filters that keep disrespect out. The most attractive woman in any room isn't always the loudest. She isn't always wearing the most expensive clothes. Sometimes she's the quiet one, the one who walks away from conversations that don't honor her, the one who doesn't compete for attention, the one who understands that peace is more valuable than temporary validation. That kind of energy is unforgettable. Why? Because confidence makes people curious. When a woman refuses to chase, a man begins asking questions. Why isn't she trying to impress me? Why isn't she constantly checking her phone? Why isn't she seeking my approval? Suddenly, she's different from everyone else he's met. And people are naturally drawn toward what they don't completely understand. This doesn't mean becoming cold. It doesn't mean becoming arrogant. It means becoming emotionally disciplined. There's a huge difference. Coldness pushes everyone away. Discipline simply refuses to let the wrong people stay. Many relationships fail not because love disappeared, but because respect disappeared first. Without respect, love slowly suffocates. Attraction fades. Communication breaks down. Trust disappears. Respect isn't built by saying, please value me. Respect is built by showing that you value yourself enough to leave situations that don't honor who you are. Think about someone who always cancels plans with you. At first, you might make excuses, but after the fifth or sixth time, you begin realizing something important. Their actions reveal their priorities. Now apply that same wisdom to your own relationships. If someone repeatedly chooses convenience over commitment, confusion over clarity, excuses over effort, believe the pattern, not the promise. Words create hope. Patterns reveal truth. The women who inspire lasting admiration aren't constantly asking, "Do you love me?" They're asking themselves a different question. Does this relationship honor the woman I'm becoming? That question changes everything, because now, instead of trying to earn someone's affection, you're evaluating whether they deserve access to your life. That's a completely different mindset. Confidence isn't loud. Confidence quietly says, "I would rather be alone than constantly disrespected." Confidence doesn't threaten to leave. Confidence simply leaves when necessary. And that's exactly why it carries power. A man who truly values you notices those standards. He notices that you don't tolerate inconsistency. He notices that you don't beg for communication. He notices that your happiness doesn't depend on his attention. Ironically, that's what makes your attention more valuable. Scarcity creates appreciation. Not because you're pretending to be unavailable, but because your life is already full of purpose. When your world revolves around one person, you unintentionally place pressure on the relationship. But when your life is filled with growth, goals, friendships, family, faith, and purpose, you become someone who adds to a relationship instead of depending on it for your identity. That energy is magnetic. Because people aren't attracted to desperation, they're attracted to direction. And the one boundary that changes everything begins with this simple decision. I will never trade my self-respect for temporary attention. The moment that sentence becomes real, not just something you say, but something you live, you'll notice people responding differently. Not because you've changed who you are, but because you've finally stopped negotiating your worth. The moment you stop negotiating your worth, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop reacting to every little change in someone's behavior. You stop panicking when a text takes longer than expected. You stop wondering whether you're enough because your value is no longer determined by someone else's attention. That's real freedom. And freedom is one of the most attractive qualities a person can possess. Too many people enter relationships hoping someone else will complete them. But no relationship was ever meant to replace your identity. A healthy relationship should add joy to your life, not become the only source of it. The stronger your sense of self becomes, the less likely you are to accept treatment that weakens your spirit. Think about the difference between someone who constantly asks for reassurance and someone who quietly trusts their own worth. One is chasing approval. The other is living from confidence. Which one do you think naturally commands more respect? Here's the truth many people never hear. A man who truly values commitment doesn't run from standards. He runs from chaos. He doesn't fear a woman with boundaries. He fears a relationship where nothing is ever enough, where every conversation turns into an argument, where peace is impossible to find. Boundaries don't create distance. They create clarity. They answer important questions without saying a word. This is how I expect to be treated. This is what I will not tolerate. This is the kind of relationship I'm willing to build. Everything else is simply noise. One of the strongest boundaries you can ever develop is refusing to chase mixed signals. If someone likes you, consistency will eventually reveal it. If someone respects you, effort will naturally follow. If someone values your presence, you won't have to constantly wonder where you stand. Confusion is expensive. It steals your time. It steals your peace. It steals your confidence. Stop investing your heart in people who keep offering uncertainty. Imagine planting seeds in dry ground every single day while ignoring fertile soil sitting right beside you. That's exactly what happens when you keep pouring love into someone who refuses to nurture the relationship. You become exhausted, not because love is difficult, but because you're giving it to the wrong place. The right person won't make perfection a requirement, but they will make respect a priority. There's a difference. Nobody is perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. But repeated disrespect isn't a mistake. It's a decision. When someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries after you've made them clear, they aren't confused. They're testing how much you'll tolerate. And every time you ignore your own standards, the test becomes easier for them. This is why self-respect isn't just a feeling. It's a habit. It's the habit of saying no when your heart wants to say yes out of fear. It's the habit of walking away from conversations that only bring pain. It's the habit of choosing peace over temporary attention. Many women stay because they remember who a man used to be. They remember the beginning, the sweet messages, the long conversations, the promises, the excitement. But relationships aren't built on memories. They're built on today's actions. You can't build tomorrow on yesterday's effort. You have to look at what someone consistently chooses now. That's where truth lives. One of the greatest signs of emotional maturity is accepting reality instead of constantly chasing potential. Potential is beautiful, but potential doesn't create healthy relationships. Character does. Consistency does. Integrity does. You deserve someone whose actions make you feel secure, not someone whose inconsistency keeps you anxious. Real love should calm your nervous system, not keep it in survival mode. When your phone becomes the controller of your emotions, something is out of balance. If one message can make your day and one silence can destroy it, you've given away too much power. Take it back. Remember who you were before you met them. Remember your dreams. Remember your passions. Remember the goals that had nothing to do with romance. Those parts of you still deserve attention. In fact, they deserve even more. Because purpose creates confidence. Confidence creates peace. And peace attracts healthier relationships than anxiety ever will. The strongest women don't spend their lives trying to be chosen. They spend their lives becoming the kind of person they're proud to be. The difference is enormous. When your mission is to be chosen, you'll accept almost anything. When your mission is personal growth, you'll naturally reject anything that doesn't align with your future. That's the boundary. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your energy. Your attention is valuable. Your kindness is valuable. Your loyalty is valuable. Stop giving priceless things to people who treat them like they're ordinary. Here's another truth. People often respect what they had to earn more than what they received without effort. That doesn't mean making love difficult. It means making respect essential. If someone wants your trust, let them build it. If someone wants your heart, let them protect it. If someone wants your future, let them demonstrate consistency in the present. Time reveals everything. Masks become heavy. Pretending becomes exhausting. Eventually, character always shows itself. That's why patience combined with boundaries is so powerful. You don't rush. You observe. You don't assume. You notice patterns. You don't force connections. You allow people to reveal who they really are. And when they do, believe them. One of the hardest lessons in life is realizing that chemistry is not compatibility. You can feel incredible attraction towards someone who isn't good for your future. You can have exciting conversations with someone who lacks emotional maturity. You can deeply care about someone who simply isn't capable of giving you the relationship you deserve. Feelings matter, but they aren't enough. A lasting relationship needs trust, respect, shared values, emotional safety. Without those foundations, attraction eventually becomes exhaustion. This is why boundaries are acts of wisdom, not punishment. They're reminders that your future is too important to gamble on temporary emotions. Every strong decision you make today protects your happiness tomorrow. Every unhealthy situation you walk away from creates space for something healthier to enter. Life has a way of rewarding those who stop settling, not immediately. But eventually, the woman who refuses to lower her standards isn't losing opportunities. She's protecting her future. She's making room for relationships built on honesty instead of games, effort instead of excuses, commitment instead of confusion. And that's the kind of woman who never has to beg someone to stay. Because the people who truly belong in her life recognize her value long before she has to explain it. There comes a moment in every person's life when they have to make a choice. Keep chasing people who keep pulling away or finally choose themselves. That moment doesn't always feel dramatic. Sometimes it happens quietly. Sometimes it's after another unanswered message, another broken promise, another night spent wondering why someone who says they care keeps making you question your place in their life. That quiet moment can become the turning point. Because the greatest transformation doesn't begin when someone else changes. It begins when you do. The strongest boundary you'll ever set isn't with your words. It's with your actions. Anyone can say they deserve respect, but not everyone is willing to walk away when respect disappears. That's where true confidence is revealed. People often mistake kindness for weakness, but real kindness never requires self-abandonment. You can be compassionate without becoming someone's emotional safety net. You can forgive without reopening doors that repeatedly brought you pain. You can love someone and still recognize that they are not healthy for your future. Those truths can exist at the same time. One of the reasons boundaries make someone more attractive is because they communicate emotional stability. They show that your decisions are not controlled by fear, loneliness, or temporary emotions. Instead, they're guided by values. Values outlast feelings. Feelings rise and fall, values stay. Imagine building a house on sand. Every storm threatens to destroy it. Now imagine building that same house on solid rock. The storms still come, but the foundation remains. Relationships work the same way. If your relationship is built only on attraction, excitement, or chemistry, every disagreement feels like the end. But when it's built on honesty, trust, respect, and healthy boundaries, it becomes strong enough to survive difficult seasons. That's why emotionally mature people don't fear boundaries. They appreciate them. Because boundaries create security. Everyone knows where they stand. Everyone understands what's acceptable. Everyone knows respect is expected, not optional. Another mistake many people make is confusing attention with affection. Attention is easy. Someone can text you every day and still have no intention of building a future with you. Someone can compliment you constantly and still avoid commitment. Someone can make you feel special today and disappear tomorrow. Attention feels exciting. Affection is consistent. Attention seeks excitement. Commitment seeks responsibility. Learn the difference. Don't let temporary excitement distract you from long-term character. Character always wins. Think about the people you admire most in life. Chances are they don't constantly seek approval. They aren't changing themselves to fit every room they enter. They know who they are. Their confidence comes from within, not from applause. That's the energy that naturally attracts respect. When you become emotionally grounded, you stop chasing validation because you already know your value. And something incredible happens. The people who once expected unlimited access to your time begin noticing your absence, not because you're trying to make them miss you, but because you've stopped making yourself available at the cost of your own peace. Silence has power when it's rooted in self-respect. It's not about giving someone the silent treatment. It's about refusing to argue with people committed to misunderstanding you. It's about recognizing that not every battle deserves your energy. Some conversations don't need another explanation. Some situations don't need another chance. Sometimes your greatest statement is simply moving forward. Many people fear walking away because they think they'll never find someone else. But scarcity is often an illusion created by fear. The world is filled with opportunities, friendships, relationships, and people who value honesty and commitment. Don't convince yourself that one unhealthy connection is your only chance at happiness. It isn't. The moment you stop believing that, your standards begin to rise naturally. You stop accepting breadcrumbs because you've remembered you're worthy of a full meal. You stop celebrating minimum effort as though it's extraordinary. Base respect isn't a reward. It's a requirement. If someone communicates honestly, keeps their promises, values your time, and treats you with kindness, appreciate it. But never confuse basic decency with exceptional love. Healthy relationships should feel safe, not confusing, not emotionally exhausting, not filled with endless guessing. Peace should become familiar, not chaos. Many people have spent so much time in unstable relationships that peace feels boring. Drama feels normal. Uncertainty feels exciting, but excitement built on instability eventually becomes emotional exhaustion. Real happiness often feels calm, predictable, reliable, secure. That's not boring. That's healthy. Here's another powerful truth. The right relationship won't force you to shrink yourself. You won't have to hide your dreams. You won't have to apologize for having standards. You won't have to constantly prove your worth. The right person doesn't compete with your growth. They celebrate it. They become your partner, not your obstacle. That's why protecting your purpose is one of the strongest boundaries you can set. Never pause your entire life waiting for someone to decide whether they want to be part of it. Keep growing. Keep learning. Keep building. Keep becoming. The person meant for your future should be inspired by your progress, not threatened by it. One of the greatest forms of confidence is continuing your journey regardless of who chooses to walk beside you. That mindset changes everything. Instead of fearing rejection, you begin welcoming clarity. Because rejection isn't always loss. Sometimes it's protection. Sometimes it's life redirecting you towards something far better than what you were desperately trying to hold on to. Every closed door creates the possibility of finding the right one, but only if you're willing to keep moving. People who constantly chase unavailable partners often believe love must be earned through suffering. It doesn't. Love isn't supposed to drain your identity. It should strengthen it. It should make both people better, not leave one person carrying all the emotional weight. Relationships thrive when effort flows both ways. Respect flows both ways. Communication flows both ways. If you're the only one fighting for the relationship, then you're not building a partnership. You're carrying a burden, and burdens become heavier with time. Don't ignore that truth. The boundary that changes everything is refusing to carry what was never yours alone. The moment you release that weight, you create space for confidence, joy, and genuine connection to enter your life. That's when people begin seeing a version of you they never noticed before. Not because you've become someone new, but because you finally stopped hiding your strength beneath the fear of losing someone who never truly appreciated it in the first place. One day, you'll look back and realize that the greatest decision you ever made wasn't convincing someone to love you. It was refusing to abandon yourself just to keep someone around. That single decision has the power to change every relationship that follows. The truth is, people don't always recognize your value when you're constantly trying to prove it. When you're always explaining yourself, always making excuses for someone else's behavior, always sacrificing your peace to keep another person comfortable, Your worth becomes easy to overlook, not because you lack value, but because you've stopped treating your own value as something precious. The boundary that makes people respect you isn't loud. It doesn't require dramatic speeches or emotional ultimatums. It's quiet. It's consistent. It's reflected in the choices you make every day. You choose honesty over pretending. You choose peace over chaos. You choose growth over desperation. You choose self-respect over temporary attention. Those choices may not feel glamorous in the moment, but they build a life that cannot be shaken by someone else's inconsistency. Here's something powerful to remember. When someone is used to having unlimited access to your time, your energy, and your emotions, they often don't realize your importance until they no longer have it. That's not because you're playing games. It's because people naturally notice the absence of something they once took for granted. But here's the important part. Your goal should never be to make someone regret losing you. Your goal should be to become so deeply connected to your own purpose that whether they regret it or not no longer controls your happiness. That's real power. Imagine waking up every morning excited about your own life, instead of wondering whether someone will text you back. Imagine ending each day feeling proud of the person you're becoming instead of exhausted from chasing validation. Imagine entering every relationship from a place of abundance instead of fear. That's what healthy boundaries create. They don't just improve your relationships with others. They transform your relationship with yourself. And once that relationship becomes strong, everything else begins to change. You start recognizing red flags earlier. You stop ignoring your intuition. You stop accepting apologies that never come with changed behavior. You stop settling for potential while overlooking reality. You stop confusing effort with excuses. Most importantly, you stop believing that loneliness is worse than disrespect. Because it isn't. Being alone gives you room to grow. Being constantly disrespected slowly teaches you to doubt your own worth. Choose growth every time. Many people ask, why do confident people seem so attractive? The answer isn't complicated. Confidence communicates security. Security creates peace. Peace attracts emotionally healthy people. People are drawn toward those who know who they are because certainty is rare in a world full of confusion. Confidence isn't believing you're better than anyone else. Confidence is believing you don't need to compete for what is genuinely meant for you. Think about that. You don't have to chase what's willing to walk beside you. You don't have to beg for consistency from someone who genuinely values your presence. You don't have to force commitment from someone who's ready for it. Healthy relationships don't require endless convincing. They require mutual effort, mutual respect, mutual responsibility. That's why the strongest women and the strongest men understand one simple principle. Never negotiate your non-negotiables. If honesty matters to you, protect it. If respect matters to you, require it. If loyalty matters to you, live by it. Your standards aren't obstacles. They're directions leading the right people toward you while guiding the wrong people away. And that's exactly what they're supposed to do. Not everyone deserves front row access to your life. Some people are only meant to teach you lessons. Some are meant to challenge your patience. Some are meant to show you exactly what you'll never accept again. Be grateful for every lesson, but don't keep repeating the same one. Growth means learning. Learning means changing. Changing means refusing to return to the version of yourself that accepted less than you deserved. The beautiful thing about boundaries is that they become easier every time you honor them. The first time you say no, it feels uncomfortable. The second time, it feels empowering. Eventually, protecting your peace becomes your new normal. And once that happens, your entire energy changes. You walk differently. You speak differently. You make decisions differently. You stop looking for permission to value yourself. You simply do. Ironically, that's when people begin treating you differently. Not because you've demanded respect, but because you've demonstrated it. Respect starts from within before it's ever reflected from the outside. Remember, the most valuable person in the room is rarely the one demanding attention. It's the one whose presence speaks for itself, the one who doesn't need to prove anything, the one who remains calm under pressure, the one who knows that walking away from disrespect isn't losing, it's winning. Because every step away from what diminishes is a step toward what fulfills you. Life is too short to spend years trying to convince the wrong person to recognize your value. The right people won't require endless persuasion. They'll recognize your character. They'll appreciate your honesty. They'll admire your standards. And they'll respect the boundaries that protect your peace because they want to build a relationship that deserves your trust. So if you remember only one thing from today, let it be this. The one boundary that makes people chase you relentlessly isn't silence. It isn't distance. It isn't mystery. It's self-respect. It's the unwavering decision that your peace, your dignity, your values, and your future are never for sale. When you truly live by that principle, something extraordinary happens. You stop chasing people. You start attracting them. Not everyone will stay, and that's perfectly fine. The ones who leave make room for the ones who belong. The ones who can't respect your standards simply prove why those standards were necessary in the first place. Stand tall in your worth. Protect your peace without apology. Choose yourself without guilt. Keep growing, keep learning, and keep moving forward with confidence. Because the moment you stop asking the world to tell you your value is the moment the world begins to see it. And that's the boundary that changes everything forever.